Hello, Vifians. Our today's topic is advanced investment appraisal techniques. And today we will discuss two things. The first one is net present value, and the second one, which is internal rate of return. We will also discuss all other relevant details which are connected with these two methods of appraising a capital expenditure project. Whenever a company acquires a capital expenditure or incurs a capital expenditure and wishes to decide whether the capital expenditure is worthwhile or not, it appraises that project and checks whether the acquisition will be worthwhile or not. Let us begin our discussion with the net present value approach and see how it will help us to decide whether our capital expenditure will be beneficial for the organization or not. In net present value approach, we will discuss three cases at the moment. Firstly, I will introduce the simple net present value so that you get a recap of what you have already studied in your financial management paper. Secondly, we will deal with the net present value cases which involve real and nominal rates and see how inflation changes the net present value calculations. And thirdly, we will look into net present value approach along with taxes. So let's start with a simple example of net present value and see how a net present value calculation is done by an organization and how is it decided whether we should go for a project, whether we should incur capital expenditure or not. Starting with the net present value, we calculate an organization's net present value by subtracting the present value of cash outflows from the present value of cash inflows. In order to recap what we did in our financial management paper, let us look at a simple example. Let us assume that a company is deciding whether to invest in a project which will lead to a cash outflow of 120,000 today. A company wishes to decide whether they should pursue a project which will involve a cash outflow of 120,000 today. Whenever you are investing in a project, there is a cash outflow in form of investment, in form of money, in form of dollars or other relevant currency. After the investment is being done, the company receives cash inflows at the end of each year. Well, in reality, the cash flows arise throughout the year. But to make the calculations easy, we assume that generally all cash flows of a year will arise at the end point of a particular time period, generally a year. So let's assume that a company wishes to decide whether to go for a project which will involve a cash outflow of $120,000 and it will involve two cash inflows. The first one being received at the end of first year amounting to 70,000 and the second one which will be received at the end of second year amounting to 69,000. Let us assume that the company's discount rate is 10%. Therefore, we will be calculating all the relevant discount factors at this rate. To calculate any discount factor, we use a formula which is 1 divided by 1 plus I power n. And if we wish to calculate the first discount factor, it will be 1 divided by 1 plus 10% power 0, which is 1. Our second discount factor will be 1 divided by 1 plus 10% power 1, which is 0.909. And our third discount factor will be 1 divided by 1 plus 10% power 2, which is 0.826. And now, in order to calculate the present value of all cash flows, we will multiply the cash flow amounts with their respective discount factors. Therefore, our present values will be 120,000 negative. A negative sign or bracket indicates that there was an outflow. After that, 70,000 into 0.909 makes it 63630, which is the present value of the first year's cash flow. And 69,000 into 0.826, which is 56994. And if we add all of them, it will make it 624. So what we actually did is that we calculated the present value of our cash inflows and subtracted the present value of cash outflow. And the answer is our net present value, which over here in this project is positive 624. A positive net present value indicates that the investment is worthwhile. However, in any case, if the calculated net present value is negative, we will reject the project on basis of net present value approach. So to summarize, this approach tells us that if net present value is positive, we should go for the investment, and on the other hand, if it is negative, we shouldn't go for the investment. So this was our net present value approach and a simple example so that you all can recap what we already studied in our financial management paper, which taught us how to calculate net present values. By now, we have discussed our basic net present value calculations, which was previously also discussed in your financial management exam. Now we will move on to inflation and see how we deal questions which involve inflations in net present value workings. Inflation is present in all economies and therefore must be accounted for when evaluating certain projects. There will be two types of questions which will be tested in your exams. The first one will involve nominal cash flows. Now, what are nominal cash flows? Nominal cash flows are the cash flows which include the effect of inflation and therefore should be discounted using the nominal rate. Nominal cash flows are expressed in actual number of dollars that will be received or paid at various future dates. We will see a numerical example in which we will deal with nominal cash flows. The second type of cash flows that you will encounter during your exam paper in your net present value calculations will be real cash flows. Real cash flows have had the effects of inflation removed and should be discounted using the real rate. We will discuss an example of each of these types of cash flows once we have discussed how to convert a nominal rate into a real rate and how do we convert a real rate into the nominal one. Once we have discussed the nominal rate and real rate conversions, we will discuss an example of each of them. Now, in order to convert a real rate into a nominal rate, we take help of an equation which is called Fisher's equation. The formula for Fisher's equation is 1 plus I is equals to 1 plus R multiplied by 1 plus H. In this equation, I stands for nominal or money rate. R stands for real rate. And H stands for inflation rate. There will be exam questions in which you may be given the real rate and are asked to convert it into a nominal rate or vice versa. So let us see an example which will help me demonstrate how do we make the conversions possible. Let's say that the exam question says that your real rate is, let's say, 6%, whereas your inflation rate is, let's say, 3%. And in order to calculate the net present value, the question has given you nominal cash flows, and therefore you are required to calculate your nominal rate. What you will do is just put in these numbers in the formula and calculate the nominal rate as 1 plus I. Since we are supposed to calculate our nominal rate, we have to calculate the value of I, and on the other side 1 plus 6%, which is your real rate, multiplied by 1 plus 3%, which is your inflation rate. Once you solve this, you will get a nominal rate of 9.18%. So this is how you convert a real rate into a nominal rate. Now, depending on the requirement of the questions and the data provided, you may have to use the real rate or the nominal rate. Let's see an example of each of these one by one. In order to differentiate between the real cash flows and the nominal cash flows, and how does real rate and the nominal rate discounting operate, let us take an example. Let's say that our real rate is 10%, our inflation rate is 4%, and let us draft some cash flows. Let's say that there is a project which we are evaluating, which is based on 3 years, and the real cash flows from the project are as follows: $5,000 negative, positive 6,000 at year 1 end, and positive 3,000 at year 2 end. Now, since in this question the real cash flows are available, we will use our real rate to calculate the net present value. After that, I will inflate these cash flows and we will see how does the nominal rate operate. Let us calculate the respective discount factors using the real rate, which is 10%. So our first discount factor will be 1. The second one will be 0.909, and the third one will be 0.826. We have used the discount factor formula, which is 1 divided by 1 plus I power n. Our first present value will be 5,000 negative. Second one will be 5454. And the third one will be 2478. In order to calculate the net present value, we will add up all three of them, and our final answer is 2932. So this is how the real rate working looks like. We have discounted all the real cash flows and have come to a conclusion that we should invest in the project since the net present value is positive. Now let us see what will happen if a nominal rate is used and if you are provided with nominal cash flows. Or what we can do to better understand is that let us inflate these real cash flows. When I discussed about real cash flows, I said that real cash flows have had the effects of inflation removed from it. So what we can do is that we can inflate these cash flows and come to our nominal cash flows and then discount them using a nominal rate. In order to calculate nominal rate, we will use the Fisher's equation, and therefore our nominal rate can be calculated by 1 plus I is equals to 1 plus real rate, which is 10%, multiplied by 1 plus our inflation rate, which is 4%. Once we solve it, our nominal rate will be 14.4%. So this is our nominal rate. Now let us calculate the nominal cash flows, and after that we will use the nominal rate to discount them off. Our first real cash flow is 5,000 negative and it is at year 0. So the nominal cash flow will be the same, which is negative 5,000. The second real cash flow is 6,000 and it is the impact of inflation removed from it. So if we inflate it for 1 year, we can incorporate an inflation of 4% into it. And in order to incorporate the inflation into 6,000, the inflation rate for per year, or the per year inflation rate, per annum inflation rate is 4%. Therefore, when we will inflate the 6,000 rupees real cash flow, it will become 6240, using 6,000 plus 6,000 into 4%. Or in simple terms, we can just multiply the 6,000 amount by 1 plus 4%. Since we have to inflate the amount of 6,000 for a single year. Our second amount is 3,000 rupees. But it arose after 2 years from today. And therefore, in order to incorporate inflation in this 3,000 rupees, we have to inflate it for 2 years, not a single year. Therefore, we will multiply 3,000 by 1 plus the inflation rate, which is 4%, power 2. Because we have to inflate it for 2 years. And our amount will be 3244.8. So now these nominal cash flows have had the effects of inflation in them, and in order to calculate the net present value, we will have to use the nominal rate. Using the nominal rate of 14.4%, we will now calculate discount factors. Our first discount factor will be 1. The second one will be 0.874. And the third one will be 0.764. In order to remind you how we calculated these discount factors, let me discuss the working of 0.764. 1 divided by 1 plus 14.4% power 2. This is how we calculate this discount factor. The third step or the last step is finally to calculate the net present values. 5,000 negative into 1 is negative 5,000. 6240 multiplied by 0.874 is 5454, and 3244.8 multiplied by 0.764 is 247. So finally, if we add all of them together, our answer will again be 2932. So we are getting same net present value in this case. This is how we perform calculations on a real cash flow and a nominal cash flow. This was all as discussed in your previous exam papers as well. However, in order to revise these things, in order to recall, we have performed certain simple calculations. So we have discussed simple net present values, and now after that we have also discussed our real cash flows, nominal cash flows, and the Fisher index. The next thing that we will discuss is how do we calculate the tax amounts and how do we treat the tax allowable depreciations, and what are the impacts of tax on a net present value calculation. Let us now briefly discuss what are the implications of a tax in the net present value calculations. The implications of tax can be discussed in three different ways. Firstly, we will discuss the assumptions used in the questions about payment of tax. After that, we will discuss how do we treat the tax allowable depreciations. And thirdly, we will discuss what happens when there is a first year allowance incorporated in the question. So coming to the first point, our question has three types, or our question asks us about payments of tax in three types. Firstly, it can say that the tax amount that you have calculated will be paid in the same year in which the profits arose. Second type of the questions will say that the tax will be payable 1 year in arrears or in the year after the profits arose. And thirdly, or the third type of questions will suggest that half of the tax will be paid in the same year in which the profits are earned, and the second half will be paid in the following year. We will encounter all three types of questions when we are solving our past paper exam questions. The second thing which we have to discuss along with net present value is how do we treat the tax allowable depreciation. The tax allowable depreciation amount is used to reduce our taxable profits, and this reduction in the taxable profits leads to our savings in terms of cash by paying less tax in terms of the payment to the tax authorities. Now, let us discuss the implications of tax, or how the tax depreciation is used to reduce the tax payments and what are its implications in the net present value workings. Let us take an example of a net present value case in which we will now involve the tax rate and the implications of tax. Let's say that an organization wishes to decide whether it should purchase a machine or not. And let's say that the cost of machine is $250,000. Therefore, if the organization purchases the machine, it will lead to a cash outflow of $250,000. Let us now say that the life of the machine is 4 years, which means that the organization will purchase the machine, it will make use of it, and the life of the machine will be 4 years, and therefore the organization can benefit from the machine for 4 years only. Thirdly, let us say that the machine can generate cash inflows maybe due to savings of costs at a rate of $75,000 per annum. Now let us involve some tax computations. Let's say that the tax authorities allow us to claim 25% reducing balance method depreciation. So let's say that our tax allowable depreciation rate is 25% reducing balance method. Let's add some more details and let's say that our scrap value for this asset will be $5,000. Our tax rate is 30%, and let's say that tax is payable 1 year arrears. Payable 1 year in arrears. Let's say that our discount rate is 11%, and we are supposed to calculate the net present value in order to decide whether we should purchase, whether we should acquire the machine, or whether we should not. So let's perform the net present value calculations. Before making the final cash flows chart for the net present value workings, let us deal with the tax matter. The tax authorities have allowed us to claim 25% reducing balance method depreciation. This depreciation will lead to reduction in our taxable profits and therefore lead us to save certain amount of tax. Let's perform the depreciation working first of all. The asset's life is 4 years, therefore 1, 2, 3 and 4, we have 4 years. Let's say the first year's depreciation will be 250,000 multiplied by 25%, which is 62,500. Let me make a column of tax depreciation. First year's tax depreciation will be 250,000 multiplied by 25%, which is 62,500. My assets net book value or tax book value will be 187,500 now. 250,000 minus 62,500. My second year's depreciation will be 187,500 multiplied by 25%, which is 46,875. And my net book value or tax book value of this asset will be 187,500 minus 46,875, which makes it 140,625. Third year's depreciation will be 140,625 multiplied by 25%, which is 35,156. And 140,625 minus 35,156 makes it 105,469. For fourth year's depreciation, 105,469 multiplied by 25% makes it 26,367, and the tax book value will be 79,102. So this is how we calculate our depreciations. And after the calculations of depreciation, let's say what is the loss or gain on disposal. We will be able to sell this asset at a scrap value of $5,000 at the end of its life, which is 4th year, and our tax book value is 79,102. Therefore, if we are selling an asset with a book value of 79,102, we will make a total loss of $74,102. This is the loss on disposal amount.